quiet shift, a loud claim, and a question with global consequences. Is India really turning off the tap on Russian oil? And if it is, can Venezuela realistically replace it? After months of pressure from Washington, India's oil strategy is entering uncharted territory. US President Donald Trump says India has agreed to phase out Russian oil imports. In return, lower tariffs, scrap penalties, and a reset in trade ties. Posting on Truth Social, Trump claimed Prime Minister Narendra Modi would stop buying Russian oil, a move he said would help end the war in Ukraine. New Delhi has not publicly confirmed this, but the signals are unmistakable. For context, Russian crude has been India's safety valve, cheap, reliable, and available in large volumes after Moscow was hit with Western sanctions in 2022. At its peak, Russian oil made up nearly 30 to 35% of India's total crude imports, roughly 1.7 million barrels per day. That is not a tap you shut overnight. Yet, pressure from Washington kept building. In August 2025, Trump imposed an additional 25% tariff on Indian goods, explicitly punishing India for buying Russian oil. That pulled total US tariffs on India to among the highest in the world. Now that extra levy is gone. Tariffs are down from 50% to 18%, and oil is at the center of the deal. Trump claims India could buy $500 billion worth of US energy, coal, and other goods. Delhi hasn't endorsed that figure. However, India has already started cutting back. After US sanctions on Russian giants Rosneft and Lukoil, shipments dropped by nearly a third to 1.3 million barrels per day. The strategy is diversification. India now sources oil from over 40 countries. The US and Canada are being prioritized. And the numbers show it. Between April and November last year, US crude imports to India surged 92%, from 7.1 million tons to 13 million tons in a year. But replacing Russia completely is a very different challenge. Here's the hard reality. Russian oil is cheap, US oil is not. Energy analysts estimate a full pivot away from Russia would raise India's annual oil bill by $9 to $11 billion. That is the cost of giving up discounted barrels. And then there's logistics. Shipping US oil to India takes more than 6 weeks. It locks up tankers on one of the world's longest oil routes, and it depends on a US Gulf Coast export system already running near capacity. Add to that competition. The European Union has agreed to spend $750 billion through 2028 on US oil, LNG, and nuclear energy. India would be competing directly with Europe for the same barrels. There's also a refinery problem. Indian refineries are designed for heavy sour crude like Russia's. That oil produces more diesel and jet fuel, exactly what India needs. US crude is lighter and sweeter. Switching isn't impossible, but it requires operational changes that could take months, not weeks. Which brings us to Venezuela. Trump has openly floated Caracas as an alternative. On paper, it makes sense. Venezuela produces heavy sulfur-rich crude, perfectly suited to Indian refineries. India was once a major buyer until March last year, when Trump slapped a 25% tariff on countries trading oil with Venezuela. Now, the geopolitics have shifted. After the capture of Nicolas Maduro, the US has effectively taken control of Venezuela's oil sector. An interim government has struck a deal with Washington to sell 50 million barrels to US refiners. Energy laws are being rewritten to attract foreign investment. India could re-enter the picture, but expectations need to be realistic. Venezuela's output today is just 900,000 barrels per day. In the early 2000s, it produced 3 to 4 million. Ramping up will take years, political stability, and billions in investment. And sanctions haven't fully disappeared, neither have logistics problems. Oil still has to cross half the globe. There's also the price question. Venezuelan crude was sold to Asia at steep discounts because of sanctions. If those discounts disappear, India's cost advantage disappears with them. So, can Venezuela replace Russia? Not quickly, not cheaply, and not at a scale, at least not yet. So, what does this mean for global oil markets? In the short term, very little. India cannot abruptly halt Russian imports. Existing contracts must be honored. Cargoes already booked have up to 90-day lead times. A sudden stop would mean penalties, shortages, and refinery disruptions. The wind down will be slow and calibrated. Russia, meanwhile, will redirect its oil elsewhere. China, already Moscow's biggest buyer, is expected to take more. So will Turkey and parts of Africa. Global supply remains balanced, even slightly oversupplied. So, this isn't a clean break. It's a gradual rerouting from Russia towards the US and cautiously towards Venezuela. India is reshaping its oil map, not tearing it up. The question is no longer if Russia's dominance fades, it's how much it will cost and how long India can afford the transition. Because in global energy, there are no sudden exits, only expensive adjustments. With Rudrashish Kanjilal, Bureau Report, India Today Global.